everyone. We're back with the Black Glorious podcast today. It's still Women's Month. Yes, it's still Women's Month. We're actually on Capitol Hill today with Representative Kamlager-Dove. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So you're like one of the most popular internet memes right now.
Am I really?
Yes,
I
you're
haven't seen any of these. Oh boy.
They're so funny. They're so real because I think people really resonate with real people. So I think sometimes when people become politicians or Congress, Senate, whatever the case may be, it's like they're not real people. Yeah. So it's cool to see someone like you that's a real person that just can't help your reactions even if you wanted to.
I really can't. I never play poker because I do not have a good poker face. I'm like,
Well, that leads to my first hot topic question.
Okay.
So I want to say you've gone viral a couple of times,
Yeah.
but the very first time I saw you go viral, was in January during, I think it was a Homeland Security Committee hearing with Representative Jared Maskowitz.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yes, and you were doing all the
Yes,
motions,
yes.
and you were just like
Yes.
his wingman in that
Yes.
committee hearing, talking about Kristi Noem and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi in terms of them not appearing yet, and so forth and so forth. And obviously, since then, they have appeared. And Kristi Noem was fired from her position, and obviously, Pam Bondi is still U.S. Attorney General. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on, well, first of all, did you know all that would go down after? Let's start with Kristi Noem, okay? So I know she finally came before you guys. You guys asked her very tough personal and professional questions. Did you think she would actually be fired from her position after that happened?
So Kristi Noem is a cabinet secretary, and she is required to come before Congress because we are conducting oversight. We are responsible for providing oversight for all of the agencies in this government, right? Mm-hmm. The president gets to pick these people, but they have to come to us because we are giving them money, and we are making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do with your money, with your resources.
Right.
So Home Skillet had not shown up to judiciary since she'd been confirmed. That's 13 months, boo. So how are you going to be on a job and no evaluation for 13 months? Now, shame on Republicans for not, making her come. But eventually they knew she had to, and she showed up.
She showed up.
So bad on her that she waits to have, 2 people shot in the face and in the back in the middle of Minnesota.
Right.
All of these people detained, deported, abused through ICE.
Right.
And this ad.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So,
This and repeats again, how much was that ad again?
$220 million. So you could be buying eggs, you could have cheaper gas, you could be getting checks to help
all went to her ad.
Because she wanted to pretend like she was John Wayne. So she comes, and we had lots of questions. Lots of questions about how she's doing her job. Okay. And lots of questions about her judgment. Okay. How she is making decisions. Because for someone who represents Los Angeles, where we've had fires in the Palisades and in Altadena, and she's responsible for making sure that FEMA contracts are reviewed and approved so that money can get out on time to people that live in my district and in my county to help them rebuild. How come this money hasn't come out? So you haven't given FEMA money to the survivors, but you are going to lease a luxury plane for $70 million and then spend $220 million on a campaign ad of you riding down the planes. Like, that math doesn't math.
It doesn't math. They say the math is not mathing.
It's not mathing.
Right. So while you didn't know that she would get removed.
I did not know she would get fired.
Okay.
But I did know that she had a rough and tumble hearing the day before in the Senate.
I see.
And I knew that she was not going to want to answer any of our questions. So I decided I was going to ask her a very simple question about her judgment. And who's making the decisions? Who's firing the people? Who's really in control? I want to know.
You want to know.
You want to know.
Right. So with that being said, and again, I'm not completely sure on this, but they said, okay, she was fired from that position, but she was really just reassigned. Like she was demoted to something else, like a made-up position. Are you aware of this made-up position that
I had never heard of that position until they said it on the news that
okay,
day.
so she's just been reassigned. She's just been reassigned to this made-up position.
Special envoy of the Shield of the Americas of the Western Hemisphere. So that's like the Avengers Part 7, the special envoy starring Kristi Noem. I'm trying to see what her little costume is going to be. She's going to have like a cape.
But that's this
some
new
wristbands,
position.
I don't know. Right. So it's made up.
It's made up.
And supposedly, she got fired while she was doing a press conference.
Wow.
So that's how shady her boss, former boss, is to her.
Wow. Well, that's...
But I do want to remind people that she still had a job after Tuesday in the Senate. She didn't have a job after Wednesday in the House.
In the House, right. That's where I think it was almost like, how was she going to live down what had happened? I don't think she could live down what happened. And then we have, obviously, our U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi. She obviously still has her position. What are your thoughts on what she can do to improve in the role that she has for as long as she has it?
Well, she can follow the law. I mean, I talked to so many
helpful.
lawyers.
That's helpful.
That's like baseline.
U.S. Attorney General. Follow the law. Okay, we can start there.
She could follow the law. She could follow the Constitution. She could realize that her job is to be the top cop for the American people and not the lapdog for the president. Because, you have rights. I have rights. You have rights. And don't you want the top prosecutor of the country to make sure that you're protected? I would argue this lady don't care about none of us. She care about one person. But he's already got a bunch of lawyers.
Right.
So why is he making her and all of these other people use the weight and the leverage of the government to only help him and not help us?
Wow. I agree. So that's our first hot topic.
Okay.
Did very well on the first hot topic. Our second hot topic is just staying on this Congress theme. There's this thing called the War of Powers that Congress has. Our founding fathers tried to, split up the government, executive, judiciary, legislative, in a way to balance the power so that one group just couldn't go off and just do whatever they wanted to do. So could you explain why, even though Congress has, again, this war of power, they have this power, why it's not being currently as effective as it could be in the context of President Trump's war on Iran? Can you maybe explain why as president, while he does have some executive power to go to war, how does that balance against Congress's powers with war?
So remember the big play Hamilton? So many people saw it, won lots of awards. Okay, so Alexander Hamilton, when they were writing sort of, all of the documents that have designed this country, he talked most about demagogues and why it was so important to have a separation of power, because we didn't want to be like England. We didn't want to have a tyrant, a dictator, a monarch just deciding what to do with all of our money, with our people, with our land. And he said, we have got to make sure that we are protecting this country against demagogues. That's why we have executive, judicial, legislative. They are checks and balances. So it's like, you can't have all the power, Mr. President, because then you wouldn't be a president. You'd be a monarch.
Right.
I have to have some power. I have the power as Congress. I have three kinds of big powers.
Okay.
I have the power of the purse.
Right.
I'm appropriating money where it goes. I have the power of oversight. You come to my committee, I ask you questions. And I have the power to declare war.
Right.
Those are the three main powers that Congress has.
There you have it.
Now, you want a Congress that comes together on very, very important issues like going to war and sending our men and women overseas to die, right? Using our taxpayer dollars to buy bombs instead of butter.
Right.
The very important issues. This Congress, because the majority of people in Congress are Republicans, are saying, we don't want to vote on this. We don't want to assert ourselves into this question about if we should go to war. Now, if we should go to war is very different than if we should be in this war, right? And so the War Powers Resolution is saying, it's asserting, it's reasserting that Congress has the power to declare war. Okay? That is very simple. That is not, should we be in war, go to war with Iran? Should we be in Nigeria? You know, should we be going into Venezuela? It's not that. It's, do we have the power to declare war? I don't understand why that got voted down. Why would you say, I want to give you the power of my job?
Right.
Because that's essentially what
has
they
happened.
did. That's
okay.
Right. So I voted yes.
So they just handed it off essentially to President Trump.
My power to declare war, I'm giving it to you, Donald Trump.
Interesting.
Now, I didn't do that. I said yes. I said, I want my power. I like my job. I want my power.
But they handed it off to him.
They said, Donald Trump, you can have my job description when it comes to declaring war.
Interesting. So here we are. This is why he's been able to move forward with Iran.
$1 billion a day, maybe troops in Iran.
Wow. And we don't, and there's no end in sight.
And
because
gas prices is high.
Right. And there's no end in sight. Well, that was a very good, there's no plan. Well, that was a very good explanation because I think some people, I think some people were just like, how is it even, possible? But, we're obviously monitoring that.
I'm going to give you my power. So, like, if you have a wild child.
Right.
And you say, well, how come where's the parent? And the parent is like, I'm not going to discipline this child. I'm going to abdicate that responsibility. Of course you're going to have a wild baby.
Right.
That's what we do. We got a wild baby.
Well, I think people are fearful because, literally I was going to an event and the airports got closed down because he had done something like the night before and they thought it was like another 9/11 situation and all the airports had I think there was like a smell or something at the airport and they were afraid. So they just, canceled every single flight. So this is like not a game. Like this is very serious. By us going up against them, we are basically putting the U.S. at risk. And so we will be monitoring how long this goes on.
What's the plan? What's the exit strategy?
Right.
What was the goal?
Of entering it in the first place. Right.
How long do we want to be there?
Right. Right.
Why does he keep shifting the narrative about it was really about this, but now it's about this?
That. Yeah.
What do we actually want to see achieved? Who's making the decisions?
It's just so many questions.
Way too many questions.
So many questions and not enough answers.
And as a lawyer, I was told that you want to have the answer to every question
before you actually even enter into the war. This is true. Well, that would just make too much sense. And as you know, common sense is not common. I am learning that every day. Well, thank you for playing Hot Topics with us. We're going to move on to questions about you because we want to get to know you. This interview is really about you. Tell us who were you before a state congressman, a U.S. congresswoman? Who were you before all of this?
Okay, well, I'm still the same person.
Okay.
I just have a different title.
Okay.
But before I got into politics, I actually, no straight line. So I worked in the nonprofit world. I help families find and pay for childcare. I advocated for parents and providers. I was in the movie industry for a little bit.
Oh, wow, fun. Yeah. California, of course.
Yes.
There you go.
I worked for Delroy Lindo, who was in Sinners.
Yes, fun.
Yeah. And then I helped a friend of mine run for office.
Okay.
And when she won, then I ran her office. I continued to run her campaigns, and then eventually I ran for office.
So is that what gave you the bug? Because I read somewhere that you also helped Harold Washington, who was the first, I believe, Chicago.
Yeah,
Black mayor of Chicago.
So, help is kind of strong because I was 5.
Okay.
But I walked with my grandmother. So I helped my grandmother.
So that was maybe your first kind of
and I was
entry
like,
into this
what is
world.
this? And, it's so important to have someone who speaks your values. And it's great if they look like you, but if they come from your community.
Tell us something that people don't know about you.
Oh, good Lord. I used to play the saxophone.
Okay. And I think people may have not known that you mentioned that you worked with
I worked for Delaware.
Yeah, I think that is a fun fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fun fact.
Yeah, I worked with him on Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, you got bit by the bug, the political bug, and you enter as a state congressman for California. Tell us, one of the things I read about your time there, you were a part of the Crown Act.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
So when I was in the community college, I ran for community college, and then after that I was in the Assembly and the Senate. And I was the lead on the Crown Act, which basically says you cannot discriminate against folks with their natural hair. So it was really about sisters, and we like to wear our hair all kinds of ways. And it was really moving to be able to kind of, talk about the story of black hair and how often so many women, you put your wig on, you get your piece on, you're pressing your hair. So many of us, when we were little, that's what we did. We had our hair pressed because we wanted it to be straight, because we were trying to assimilate. And to be able to say, hey, I can rock all.
Just rock it.
Honey, I can
like today, how she's rocking it today.
Yes,
she's free today.
I'm free today. It's very empowering.
Right.
And it's really important, because how we look, how we put on our makeup, how we get our hair right is an expression of an extension of our expression of who we are. And for so many years, black women have been asked to hide that expression.
Now, refresh my memory. Is Crown Act now in all 50 states, or it's almost?
It's almost.
Almost. Okay, almost.
We were trying to get it federally done.
Okay, I was going to say,
These people, they ain't got no hair, so they ain't really that interested in black hair.
Exactly. What would you say?
Although a lot of Republicans wear toupees.
Oh, well, that's a secret maybe we didn't know. So you're a state congresswoman. What made you say, okay, let me take a leap and become a U.S.
Oh, hilarious.
Okay.
Actually, it was my mayor,
Okay.
who was in this seat, Mayor
Okay.
Karen Bass.
Oh, Karen Bass,
She said, I'm going to run for mayor.
Okay.
You've represented this district for a while now. Would you run? And I said, Congress is crazy. And she said, she said, yes, but you should do it. And she had to ask me a bunch of times. And I said, well, I like to do real work. I focus on a lot of things. And can I get work done? And she said, I believe that you will find a way. So, and she said, I'm going to run for mayor. And the constituents deserve someone who's going to continue to fight for them, who they trust. And that is you. So,
did you think you would win when you ran?
I did.
Okay. See, look at that confidence. This is why she's our woman. She's part of our Women's Method episodes. I love the confidence. Well, running for any seat on any level, as a woman of color, you have all these layers. Describe a moment where, maybe recently or maybe when you were running, where you felt like if you were male and or white, maybe you would have been treated a little differently.
Well, I know when I ran for the community college board, it's a county-wide seat, so that's super expensive. And so what you do is you do a lot of slate mail because you can't talk to everyone in the county, 10 million people. And I remember having conversations with folks who said, well, you shouldn't put your face on any of the slate mail because you don't want people to know you're a black woman.
So when were they going to find out?
They were. I guess after the fact, right? Because
anyway, that's kind of. But no, I hear you. They were trying to strategically help you. Okay.
And Sydney Kamlager-Dove doesn't sound like a black woman's name.
Oh, so they were like, just put your name. Don't put your face.
Because it has been very hard for black women to run and win for the entire county. I see. Oftentimes you're running in a specific district.
I see.
And so that was I was like, well, they wouldn't have said that if I were not.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story. Well, that leads me to, what is the hardest and the best part of your job currently?
The hardest part is helping people see that the work is real and very, and serious. I think oftentimes it's the viral moments, it's like the clapbacks, and we've become so focused and centered on entertainment that it's like, oh, this job is fun.
Right.
But you get kicked in the teeth a lot, and you lose a lot, and you're picking yourself up a lot and doing very hard work, especially when you realize that you have a whole government that's out to get you.
Yeah.
So the hardest part is helping people see that the work is serious.
Okay.
This is not a reality show.
Even though it feels like it sometimes.
Feels like it sometimes.
But it's real work.
But it is real, and it is dangerous, and people's lives are at risk. So that's the hardest part, is helping people see that this is, like, your government is serious. You should be taking your government seriously. Because when you are sick, when you need help, you should be able to call your government. You want a serious government answering the phone to help you.
I agree.
The best part of the job is helping people. I mean, we were able to return $100,000 to a constituent who had been homeless, and she was able to buy a house.
Oh, wow.
We were able to get a constituent back from Venezuela who had been wrongfully detained for 2 years.
Wow.
We were able to fight to get a constituent back who had been detained by ICE and was like going from place to place, and no one could get to him. Those are the best parts.
Tell us something, and maybe you've already answered it, but tell us something that people, or maybe you didn't know before becoming a U.S. Congresswoman, and then you get in the position, you're like, oh, this is what I have to do. Is there something that you learned kind of on the job that you had to do that you didn't know before entering U.S. Congress?
Well, what I have learned is that you have got to do your homework.
Okay.
You know, you have a lot of people that can help you, but at the end of the day, you have real people responsible, even if they don't take themselves seriously. The job is serious, and you have to know your homework, because these people will show up in these committees and they will give you fake information and try to gaslight you. And if you have not done your homework, if you have not prepared, it is like a deposition every day.
Every day.
If you have not prepared, and if you don't understand your witness, you are going to be screwed during your 5 minutes, which is not a lot of time,
right,
to ask questions of a witness to get them to compel some information that the American people need to know.
Yeah. So you definitely got to do your homework.
Do
your homework. Cannot assume.
And people are like, hey, you just show up and ask us, woo woo.
Yeah.
You got to be prepping.
What would you say is the most rewarding experience you've had so far as a congresswoman?
The most rewarding experience I had was actually when I was able to help get my constituent released from prison. They've been in Venezuela for 2 years. We worked constantly with the State Department. I had sort of developed a really close relationship with his family. And when I got the call that he was on the plane safely with 9 other Americans, and the State Department said, we didn't call any other congressperson, but we called you because we knew how.
You would get it done. She would get it done. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What would you say is your biggest motivator? And if for some reason you hadn't become Congresswoman, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, boy. My biggest motivator, honestly, is my district. I go home and I drive around and you're doing stuff, you know, going to the grocery store, exercising, taking your kids to school, and you see people who are just getting up every day and they're loving life. They're finding a way to love life, and they are just like putting one foot in front of the other. They're like, I'm gonna make it through this day, and that motivates me. I say, if they can do it, I can do it.
You can do it.
So you got to use the energy of the folks around you to motivate you, and I just see so much resiliency in my district.
And what would you be doing if for some reason you weren't U.S. Do you think you would be in one of your other roles still?
Well, I have a dream that one day I will have a farm.
Okay.
You'll see me like in overalls.
Okay.
With some horses.
Okay.
I kind of,
already, she's already planning her retirement plan. Her exit strategy.
With a little whiskey on the porch. Yeah, believe me. I mean, sometimes I do. I'm like, you know, that would be my getaway if I could be on a farm. But I don't know, if I wasn't doing this, maybe I'd be running for president.
Maybe. I would put it past you. Well, as Congresswoman, what would you say, you know, if you had maybe, you know, just a few more months left in this role for some reason, when you walked away from this, if and when you walk away from this role, where do you want to say you had the greatest impact? What areas?
I would want to say that I delivered as much money as I could to my district.
Okay.
I believe in small businesses. I believe that we have to have a robust public education system. I believe that we need to be supporting jobs, job development. So I would want folks to say she left this economic development imprint, not just on the district, but hey, I'm going to say for all of California. Okay. I want to be able to say I helped save the movie industry, the entertainment industry. I brought movies back to California, to LA, to this country, because that's I think one of the biggest cultural assets that we have. And I want people to be able to say she was ride or die for her Black people.
Okay, I love that.
So that's three things.
That's three things. Last question. Okay. What would be your advice for someone that wants to run for office, any office? What's your advice? Because it's not an easy thing to do, to really put yourself out there. Yeah. So
do it for the right reasons.
Okay.
And the right reasons are your constituents. There are so many other ways to make money, to become famous. This job is not necessarily that job. So if that's what you want, there are far easier jobs to do. So just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And I'll leave you with this story. I gave some money to this nonprofit organization that was building affordable housing. And Tanisha spoke. Tanisha's a Black woman. She said, I haven't had my own home in over 10 years. I've been looking for, I haven't had permanent housing. I had a baby, was pregnant. She said, I've been working on staying sober. And it's so important for me to stay sober for my new baby. I could not endure the additional stress of still trying to find a home. So when I got the call that I could move into the village, she said it was just
like a weight lifted
off of me, because my number one priority is staying sober and being there for my baby. You should be wanting to do this job for Tanisha and for every Tanisha that's out there, because she deserves someone who cares about this job and helping constituents.
Absolutely. Well, we end with a Black Excellence moment of the week. Speaking of the movie industry, our Black Excellence moment goes out to actually the NAACP, who honored everyone, whether it be Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, Kerry Washington. There were so many people that were honored in these last 2 weeks at the NAACP. They also have a legal defense fund that they have, so definitely check that out. So that is and congratulations, Michael B. Jordan, on your win. He's one of, I want to say, less than 7 or 8 black men to win best actor. He is one of the very few to have done that. And so congratulations on that. And with that being said, as always, we're rooting for everyone Black. Take care, everyone.